What's up, guys? This is Crypto with James talking to you today a bit about Bitcoin SV or Satoshi Vision, and I'm going to get into that along with the the man behind Bitcoin SV and why I think it may very well be a terrible investment. But before I do, as always, spreadsheets updated. These were the first 26 coins I spoke about on the channel that I thought would crash it in this bull cycle. If you'd invested $100 into each coin at the times of recording and you were still holding those bags, you'll be in profit for about $18,600. So add in your 2,600 that you invested, you're sitting on around 21,200. That's pretty nice. I've been in all of them at one point or another. I've cashed out gains on a hell of a lot of them, almost all of them. In fact, if you want to know exactly what I'm in, and the next coins that are going to moon big, check out copymycrypto.com. My portfolio is immensely well balanced. These coins are already starting to build momentum yet again. Some of these coins are set for staggering growth this year alone. And over a 5-year period, some of them are going to be redonkulous. So if you want to know these coins and not miss out on the opportunity to invest, because make no mistake about it, in a few weeks, a lot of these coins are going to be 30-40% more valuable than they are right now, and your gains will be smaller. So now is the time. Check the link in the description, guys. Right, Bitcoin SV. So, peaked out to about $422 in January. Had another peak up to 422-ish again at the beginning of May, and then over the course of May had a huge capitulation and has continued to somewhat drop in value. It's gained a little bit of momentum back over the past sort of week and a half, but not tons, nothing significant. So, Bitcoin SV, right? There's so much to break down. Craig Stephen Wright is the man that's behind Bitcoin SV. He is a man that claims to be Satoshi Nakamoto. No one takes these claims seriously. Um, he his behavior is often ridiculous, and unfortunately, because of his attitude towards criticism, he takes absolutely everyone he can to court. Um, to the point that he's taken, like, it's upset the exchanges. Like, Bitcoin SV has been delisted on a bunch of top tier exchanges because of his sort of general behavior patterns. He's currently suing um, people in the UK who denied that he was the inventor of Bitcoin and called him a fraud. He served legal notices to Vitalik Buterin, who called Wright a fraud. He's served legal notices to Roger Ver and Peter McCormick as well. He continues to do this. Now, if we actually break down what's happening with him in particular, and what's interesting in particular right now is this article was from July 23rd. So, Bitcoin SV has had a series of attacks on June 24th, July 1st, July 6th, July 9th, and yesterday, guys. Yesterday, at 11:46, ton of attack. 11:46 a.m. Ton of attacks again. A 51% attack. If you're unfamiliar with what a 51% attack is, it is where miners that are controlling effectively 51% of the hashing power for a distributed ledger. So that could be Bitcoin, could be Ethereum Classic. That's been a sufferer of multiple 51% attacks, or Bitcoin SV, or Bitcoin Cash. All of them. And there's many more examples, right? But I'm not going to keep naming them. So Bitcoin SV has suffered 4, and now yesterday makes 5 51% attacks. And what happens, like I said, these miners that control 51% of the hashing power can then reorganize the ledger and double spend the crypto, which can cause staggering losses. Like one happened, I think it was Bitcoin Cash a year or two ago, and about $18 million worth was ended up being like double spent. It can happen and it can be really bad. The fact that there's been this many attacks on Bitcoin SV in such a small space of time is a serious problem for this crypto. Now, one thing I will say, Craig Wright has tried to calm the situation down, but I'll talk about that in a second. So it's high, its all-time high was $461. It's now about 73% off of that. Or, well, a bit less than that now, because it's recovered a bit. Now, long before the attacks, 5 other exchanges, Kraken, OKCoin, Coinbase, Binance, Independent Reserve, and Shapeshift had delisted Bitcoin SV over the last 2 years, often in response to Wright's behavior, particularly his lawsuits against his critics, as I've just previously cited, with regards to Vitalik Buterin, Roger Ver, Pete McCormack. So Wright is the chief science officer of a company called nChain. He won a copyright case in London against the website bitcoin.org for posting Nakamoto's Bitcoin white paper, which Wright insisted was his work. Wright prevailed in part because the owner of the site, an anonymous user by the name of Cobra, refused to appear in court. So it's not necessarily that the evidence was that it was his work, but a loophole within the system. Some exchanges still support BSV. Bittrex allows it. OKX allows it. Huobi allows it. This is your man, Craig Wright. Now, one thing about Bitcoin SV, I'm going to keep saying SV because I can't bother to say Satoshi's vision. The whole idea is that it is going to be the ledger that fulfills Satoshi's vision of only one global chain. So BSV mainly is looking to be a crypto that is a payment process that can be used to process payments, that can be a payment tool. Now, Satoshi actually said the existing Visa credit card network processes about 15 million internet purchases per day worldwide. Bitcoin can already scale much larger than that with the existing hardware for a fraction of the cost. It never really hits a scale ceiling. And we know that with Bitcoin, there is an issue in terms of the amount of transactions it can process, right? Bitcoin SV is certainly better in that regard. But there is no ignoring the situation with Bitcoin SV. These attacks are major. And this was the list. This was the feud. I mean, this started 2 years ago, to be fair. And the delisting wave started after Wright threatened to sue a pseudo-anonymous Twitter username nicknamed Hodlanaut for starting a Bitcoin lightning torch and crypto investor and podcaster Peter McCormack, unless they've recognized him as the creator Nakamoto. Now, you've got to acknowledge that that his behavior is not helping his project. He may be, he may not be, right? He may be Satoshi, he may not be. The general consensus of everyone is that he isn't. However, regardless of any of that, the act of constantly taking people to court is a problem because it's irking and upsetting the general state of play within crypto. And you want a leader of a project to end up being someone that's going to push it forward in a positive fashion, not alienate the use case from some of the biggest players in the game. And that's what's happening. So this is what's happened recently. So they had another 51% attack. Um, so it resulted in 3 versions of the chain being mined simultaneously. Um, that meant that BSV deposits during that time have all been double spent. Um, obviously, that's of concern. They confirmed that the deep reorganization witnessed a deep reorganization with a max depth of 14 blocks, though no further reorganization events were observed. Um, so what that means is, um, well, Bitcoin Association issued this. So in response to the ongoing reorganization attack on the BSV network, Bitcoin Association recommends that node operators mark the fraudulent chain as invalid. This will immediately return your node to the chain supported by honest miners and lock the attacker's chain out. If that doesn't happen, or if that didn't happen, then you're going to end up in a situation where people lose their transactions. Bitcoin SV was actually created as a hard fork of Bitcoin Cash. So it has an identical monetary policy to Bitcoin, 21 million, though the fork was a result of deep internal disagreements within the Bitcoin Cash community regarding the proposals to make transactions more efficient. So both Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV work off of a similar premise. Not the same, obviously, but a similar premise, which is basically that the Bitcoin's purpose was as a payment solution, it wasn't to be the store of value that it is. The reason that you see Bitcoin SV right now ranked 42 in the market cap, which make no mistake is still not bad, is because and Bitcoin Cash much higher, is the miners mostly went to Bitcoin Cash, won the mining more between the two. So right now, Bitcoin Cash is the more expensive crypto and the better project in terms of suffering less attacks, and that's the problem. Now, suffering attack, excuse me, suffering attacks in and of itself does not mean that a crypto can't succeed. We've seen 51% attacks in multiple projects over many, many years. Ethereum Classic has had more than I can count, but it is still solidly in the top 30 cryptos. At one point, and has continued to make new all-time highs. And you can't knock that. You legitimately can't knock that, even though they continue to have 51% attacks. And they have done. They had one in the last year. 51% attacks are by nature something that's going to be experienced by particularly the smaller projects. Like Bitcoin itself had one in 2014, but Bitcoin now has such a multitude of miners, a 51% attack is highly unlikely. If you have that with and the lower cap distributed ledgers, you're more likely to have a 51% attack. Fundamentally, however, the reason that I am a big no on this, and it may still do well, it might get back up to its previous all-time high of $400. But the reason that I am certainly not going to invest in this is I don't think this is going to go to zero or anything like that, but I'm not a fan. If I was going to choose a payment solution, I'd be more likely to choose Bitcoin Cash than I would be to choose Bitcoin SV, and I would be more likely, to be honest, to choose Nano before I chose either of those. And right now, you've got all the stable coins, and the stable coins could naturally be a payment solution as well. So yeah, I just wouldn't choose Bitcoin SV, and there's limited capacity for growth from my perspective when you're looking at the project. Yeah, so there are two big issues for me. Three big issues. Number one is there's limited scope for development and improvement beyond, and there has been for a long while. Like I just don't see Um, I don't see the growth within Bitcoin SV that you would want to see. Yeah, these are some of the projects on it. It's not much, some a bit of games, and I know there's multiple chains and but it's not fast. It's not compared to some of the blockchains out there. Not exciting. Not interested. Um, Number two, they in the last month have suffered, or in the last 6 weeks have suffered 5 attacks. That's a concerning amount in a row. Um, Number three is the guy, Craig Wright. Now, I don't really care if he's Satoshi or not. I have no problem either way with that. But the negative stream of behavior that he's continued for the last few years, and it is negative because he's taking people to court unnecessarily. Like, do you really care if people say this about you? Just get over yourself and do what you're. If you were Satoshi and you were the mind that created Bitcoin, continue to create, man. But don't worry about what people say. No one cares. Don't let that bother you. And his actions are isolating Bitcoin SV from wider investors, and that continues to happen. He's lost 5 of the biggest exchanges in the world because of his behavior pattern. And um, leopards don't change their spots, or whatever the phrase is, right? I don't think he's going to change his um, behavior pattern. So there's my big concern. Personally, I think it's a bad choice as an investment, and I would stay well clear. Anyway, that's it from me. Hope you're all doing well. Listen, guys, check out Copy My Crypto. We have got a few weeks, maybe 4, before the market starts kicking into gear. 30, 40, 50% gains are going to be made over the next few weeks and a month. And if you then join the party, you are going to make a lot less money because some of those gains have already been made. Your investments are worth less. So check out Copy My Crypto. The link is in the description.